Welcome to 𝘽𝙧𝙪𝙘, Bruce Lee Central.
You know, I'm 84 today, but I feel like I'm 48. God bless you all.
Bruce and I were good friends. We worked out together in the States for 3 years prior to him leaving for Hong Kong to pursue his movie career. And I hadn't heard from Bruce in about 2 years, and then he called me up one day and said he had done 2 films that were very successful in Hong Kong, and he wanted to do a movie with a fight scene that everyone would remember. And he asked me if I would be his opponent and do the fight scene in the Colosseum in Rome. And at that time I was still teaching and fighting, so I thought, well, that would be a breakup of my routine. And so I went to Rome, and Bruce and I did this big fight scene in the Colosseum. And of course he kills me.
Hey everybody, it's 𝘽𝙧𝙪𝙘 here. What's going on, guys? Okay, so Chuck Norris, we all know him, we all love him, and I managed to find an old VHS tape and I just restored it, and it turns out that there's an interview with Chuck Norris on that VHS tape, and he's talking about his big fight with Bruce Lee on Way of the Dragon. And he actually reveals one of the biggest secrets from that fight. So here, guys, take a look.
That movie cost $145,000 to produce. It's grossed over $60 million worldwide. It's amazing, huh?
You're glad you're in it?
Yeah, of course I am, because I enjoyed working with Bruce Lee in the film. It was a lot of fun. The fight scene is considered the classic martial art fight scene of all time. So it's nice to be involved in in a fight scene that everyone... In fact, I got a letter. I've gotten thousands of letters, fan letters from that movie. And I got a letter one time, a guy wrote, because there's a scene where I throw Bruce to the ground, and he grabs the hair on my chest, and like he pulls it out, right? Well, of course he doesn't for real, but I get a letter from this man, and he says he and his son had seen Return of the Dragon 26 times. And he says, I've got to ask you...
They weren't selling ice creams in the stores.
Pardon me?
They weren't selling ice creams in the stores.
It's amazing. People have seen this movie so many times. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've gotten letters where people have seen it 18, 19, 20 times, and because of the fight scene. But he says, did Bruce really pull the hair out of your chest? He said, if he did, you're really a stud. So I wrote back and said, no, not for real, he didn't. But it's interesting to think of how people react to the film.
Yeah. So what next?
Well, I have to be
films?
back home Monday. I've got 4 movie offers. I just finished another movie that will be coming over in the near future called The Octagon. That's very good. And I have 4 offers now, and I've got to decide, what film I want to do this summer.
So it'll be films and not television or anything?
No, I don't want to do television as yet, Graham. Mainly because you work all year round. And there's certain times of the year that I cut my activities down drastically, because I have 2 teenage boys who are in high school, and they play American football and baseball, and during that particular time of the year I kind of slow my activities down so I can go to their games.
Well, thanks very much, Chuck, for coming along, and every success in the future.
I met Bruce Lee in 1968 when I won the World Championship in New York City at Madison Square Garden. And we were walking together to the hotel and talking about our philosophies and everything. And as we're going up the elevator, it goes to my floor. I get out, well, Bruce steps out with me. And the next thing you know, we're in the hallway working out. Now this is at midnight, and we worked out till 4 o'clock that morning. And Bruce had a 7 o'clock flight to Los Angeles, so he said, I gotta go get ready and leave. And so anyway, he said, let's work out together when we both get back to Los Angeles, which we did. So he lived in Culver City, and he had a big workout area in his backyard. And so we started training in his backyard for like 2 years. And Bruce had different philosophies at that time than I did. And he said, I believe in only kicking below the waist. I believe you shouldn't go any higher than the waist. And I said, well, that's good and it's bad, Bruce. You should be able to have the ability to kick anywhere. And that way, if you only want to go low, that's fine. But if there's an opening high, then you should be able to take advantage of it. And that's what we did. I started showing Bruce different high kicks, spinning heel kicks and jumping, spinning round kicks and stuff like this here. And I said, look, Bruce, that's great. Kick somebody in the groin. But why not kick him up in the face too? Why not? Why not do the same thing? And so anyway, he started showing me the sticky hands, which are close-in type fighting, which was really great to learn. And then I started showing him all the various high kicks, and he really fell in love with them. And he became so good after about 6 months, he could do them just about as well as I could. I've been very blessed with my film career. It all began with Bruce Lee. Bruce came to New York when I fought for the world title at Madison Square Garden in 1968. And we decided to start working out together in Los Angeles, which we did for over 2 years. And then he left for Hong Kong to pursue his movie career. And I didn't hear from him for like 2 years. And then out of the blue, he calls me. He says, Chuck, I've done 2 movies in Hong Kong, and they're very successful. I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that everyone will remember. And I want to do it in the Colosseum in Rome, like 2 gladiators fighting. And I want you to be my opponent. So kiddingly, I asked Bruce, well, who wins, Bruce? He says, I win. I'm the star of this movie. So, which I knew he was going to say. And I said, yeah, I see. You want to beat the world champion, because I held the world title at the time. He says, no, I want to kill the world champion. So anyway, I decided to go to Rome and do the movie with Bruce, and of course he killed me, but he said, I don't want to make you out to be a bad guy. When I kill you, I'm going to put your uniform across your chest and put your belt there. So it's like 2 gladiators fighting each other. But anyway, that was the beginning of my career, and then I've gone on to do 23 more movies and getting ready to do a 24th one. And these are some of the pictures that I've done in various movies. This one is from Lone Wolf McQuade, where I'm fighting David Carradine, executing a reverse punch to his solar plexus. And this one here is a jump sidekick to one of the bad guys in Lone Wolf McQuade. And if you look closely, look how close I came to his face, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And then this is Silent Rage. This is when I'm fighting a guy who won't die. Even when I kicked him with this kick, he still didn't go down. But you can see how close I do come with my kicks on my fight scenes. And but it's been an incredible journey for me, and the same journey that I've had with Total Gym. You know, Total Gym's been an incredible journey, and it is a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, and it's been as exciting and rewarding for me as my film career has been.
Well, it's really a pleasure being here at the Comic-Con today, and I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. Bruce, who I've known for about 10 years now, in fact, first time I met Bruce was in New York City about 9 years ago when I was fighting. In fact, I was fighting for the world title, and that's when Bruce was doing the Green Hornet series, and he came back there as a celebrity guest. And after I won the title, the promoter introduced me to Bruce, and so we started talking about our philosophies in the martial arts and so forth. And anyway, we were both staying at the same hotel, the Americana in New York, and we started walking over to the hotel. As we got going up the elevator, I remember Bruce was staying on the 7th floor, and I was on the 9th. As we got to his floor, we were really getting pretty involved into our conversation. So instead of me going up, I stepped out in the hallway with him, and this is like 11:30 at night, and we started working out in the hallway. And next time I looked at my watch, it was 7 o'clock the next morning. And it was amazing because the guy he had so much knowledge and, as you know on the screen, ability, that it seemed like an hour had gone by as far as us working out and exchanging ideas. So he said, well, when we get back to Los Angeles, why don't we start working out together, which we did. When I got back, we started training together, and then the series was canceled, and he went to Hong Kong to pursue a movie career. When he went to Hong Kong, his first movie, the biggest grossing movie in Asia, before Bruce went over there, was The Sound of Music. It had grossed $2.4 million, which again was the biggest movie ever grossed in the Orient. Bruce did the first movie called The Big Boss, which over here was The Fist of Fury, and that one grossed $3.2 million, which is $800,000 more than The Sound of Music. Then he did The Fist of Fury, which over here was called The Chinese Connection, and that one grossed $4.3 million. And then he called me up and he said he'd like to do a movie with a real good fight scene in the movie. I said, well, the only way we can have a fight scene is if, you know, if I get to hit you once in a while. And he said, well, yeah, naturally, you know, we'd make it a back-and-forth type fight. So anyway, that fight scene that you saw took us 5 days to do. And in Asia alone, the movie grossed over $11 million. It's the biggest grossing movie in the history of Asia, and they don't think anything will surpass it for a long time. Then Bruce naturally did Enter the Dragon, which was his last movie, and it was probably the biggest grossing movie as far as martial art movies go. But Bruce was 32 years old. Let me explain something about his death too, because there's, I guess, so many rumors that are going about how he passed away and so forth, about touch of death and drugs and so forth. And so I'd like to clarify that before we go on with the demonstration. Is Bruce in 1968? Well, he was pretty heavy in the weightlifting, as you could tell. He was very well built. And he was lifting weights one night with 𝘽𝙧𝙪𝙘𝙧 𝙪𝙘𝙧, who was a student of his when he was in Los Angeles, playing at UCLA. And he tried to lift too heavy weights, and he ruptured the disc in his back, and he was laid up in the hospital for 3 weeks. In fact, the doctor said that they didn't know if he'd be able to walk again or not. But of course, with a person like Bruce, who's got the drive and determination to achieve anything in life, he was up in about a month, and within 3 months, he was as strong as he ever was. But he had constant back pains from that day on, and he was having to take medication to keep the muscles in the back loose and relaxed. So what happened is that when he was in Hong Kong preparing for his next movie, he was working with a girl named Betty, and who was going to co-star with him, and he got a severe headache. So Betty gave him some antibiotics for the headache, and with the medication he had taken for his back and the medication he had taken for his headache, they reacted to each other and made his brain swell up, and it created an aneurysm, or ruptured blood cells in his brain, and that's actually what happened. So if anyone asks you what happened, that you can tell them the true story.